Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are unpacking something absolutely fascinating. We're going to dive straight into the teachings and writings of Xu Feng, the guide of Life Chuanyuan. We are exploring a really profound essay of his that diagnoses the absolute root cause of human distress. Our entire focus today revolves around one central radical premise: selfishness is the source of worry. Let's get right into how Xu Feng systematically deconstructs the pain in our lives, and more importantly, how he suggests we might finally get free of it. So let me just ask you right off the bat, do you have worries? Just take a second, pause, and really think about this. Try to trace the root cause of every single instance of distress, anxiety, or frustration you experience in your day-to-day life. Now, usually, when things go wrong, we look outward, right? We blame our circumstances, the economy, our friends, family, or just society in general. But these teachings ask us to turn that lens entirely inward. Because according to Xu Feng's writings, if you dig deep enough, you will eventually find that the true source of your worries is not other people, it's not society, it's not nature. It is undeniably our own selfishness. The core thesis here is a real game changer. Whenever we begin a thought or an action with our own personal interest in mind, troubles, distress, anxiety, and pain inevitably follow. It's basically an automatic trigger. And it's wild how this concept scales, from the absolute macro level all the way down to the micro level of our daily lives. Xu Feng writes that you're selfish, I am selfish, and the entire human society is essentially a swamp of selfishness. And because of this, no one can escape pain. Massive, devastating issues like wars between nations or fierce political and religious conflicts all stem from this exact same root. But then bring it down a notch. The jealousy you feel toward a coworker, the resentment in a relationship, the anger, the blame, the greed, these are all just different symptoms of the exact same disease. Wherever selfishness goes, fear and unease follow right behind it, growing like wild grass. There's a common saying mentioned in the text: in life, 9 out of 10 things simply don't go as we wish. We've all felt that painful ratio, haven't we? You stub your toe, your coffee spills, your flight gets delayed. It just feels like the universe is actively plotting against you. But why is this the case? Well, Xu Feng explains it using the simple law of harvest. What you sow, you shall reap. If you plant the seeds of selfishness, you are inevitably going to harvest the fruits of worry. 9 times out of 10, the friction we experience is simply the universe handing us the harvest of our own self-centered actions. There's just no escaping it. Section 1. The illusion of self-preservation. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, because I've thought it too. We often tell ourselves, hey, I'm not the selfish one, but the people around me are. The world is totally cutthroat, so my worries are caused by their selfishness. Xu Feng directly addresses this exact excuse. He asserts that this reasoning only scratches the surface. The deeper cause still lies within you. His philosophy dictates that if you were truly fundamentally selfless, the selfishness of other people literally could not cause you worry. It simply wouldn't register as a threat to you. To really wrap our heads around this, we need to look at the extreme depth of this philosophy. Let's actually slow down for a second here. Xu Feng writes, if someone strikes my left cheek, I'll offer my right cheek as well. If someone takes my belongings, I'll let them have them. If someone wants to kill me and take my life, so be it. This is a call for absolute radical non-resistance. It means zero retaliation, no harboring of resentment, even in the face of extreme harm. He writes that he's willing to selflessly give everything up, even his own life, without seeking revenge or feeling any grievance. Moving on to Section 2, the law of cosmic balance. So you might be wondering, how on earth can anyone safely live like that? Isn't that just a recipe for becoming a total doormat? Well, Xu Feng entrusts his life to what he calls the greatest creator, or the Tao. And in this philosophy, these aren't just abstract, floaty ideas. They represent a universal mechanism that operates with meticulous, absolute fairness. The whole idea is that everything operates according to karmic cause and effect. Good deeds are rewarded with good outcomes, and evil deeds with bad outcomes. It might not happen immediately, but when the time comes, the bill comes due. Because of this mechanism, no soul in the entire universe is ever wronged. Whatever hardship you endure is the result of your own karma, and whatever you don't actually deserve simply will not befall you. Think of the universe as maintaining a perfect mathematical balance: 50% positive energy and 50% negative energy. The sum of positive and negative energy in the universe is exactly 0. What this means in practical, everyday terms is that what you give and what you receive are always perfectly proportional. There is no chance, there are absolutely no accidents. Therefore, the completely selfless person actually has nothing to fear, because the universe's meticulous accounting system guarantees they will only ever receive exactly what they are due. Which brings us to a really stark contrast: heaven versus hell. Shefeng uses these terms as metaphorical extremes to describe states of being, or states of life, and the reasoning is incredibly clear. The more selfless a life is, the closer it is to heaven. Conversely, the more selfish a life is, the deeper it drags you into hell. If you completely rid yourself of selfishness, even if the entire world around you is completely unrestrained in its greed, it has absolutely nothing to do with you. You are existing in a heavenly state of selflessness, totally untouched by it. Section 3. Life Chanyuan and the Second Home. But how does this grand cosmic theory actually translate into the real world? Shufeng doesn't just leave this as some abstract philosophical concept. He points to a highly practical, lived example. On one hand, we have traditional society, which is characterized by higher levels of selfishness and, consequently, abundant worries. On the other hand, we have the second home of Life Chanyuan, an alternative lifestyle community designed specifically around these teachings. Shufeng asks us to compare the two. Who actually experiences fewer worries? He asserts that those living in the second home are less selfish, and because of that, they tangibly, observably live with fewer worries. It's presented as a direct correlation. Reduce your selfishness and you reduce your pain. Of course, it's totally natural to still feel some fear about this. People often ask, what if the greatest creator forgets me? What if the universe falls asleep on the job? If I am completely selfless, how will I even survive? But according to the text, survival isn't something we need to stress over. If you truly walk this path of selflessness, everything will be naturally arranged for you. Having those anxious, what-if thoughts only proves a lack of true understanding. It proves you don't truly trust in the meticulous, mathematical fairness of the universal order we just looked at. Finally, Section 4, Testing the Path of Selflessness. Okay, we've mapped out the theory, the cosmic balance, and the practical community example. Now let's look at the ultimate challenge laid out for the reader. In his writings, Zhu Feng makes some very grand, mystical claims, stating that he is a messenger of the greatest creator, an incarnation of gods, Buddhas, and celestial beings. But he maintains a surprisingly pragmatic approach about all of this. He explicitly says you might choose to dismiss those mystical claims as total nonsense. And you know what? That's okay. His appeal is entirely practical. He insists that the truths he speaks are simple, and actually implementing them is simple. Selfishness is the root of worry. Selflessness eradicates it. He challenges you, the reader, to let facts speak louder than words, and just test it out for yourself. To back up this challenge, he leans on some heavy-hitting ancient wisdom from Lao Tzu, who said, "The sage is selfless and thereby achieves personal fulfillment." He uses this to reinforce the essay's core message: releasing your greed, releasing the need to dominate everything, and releasing your dissatisfaction doesn't lead to emptiness. It actually leads to true bliss, true freedom, and ultimate personal fulfillment. The teaching suggests that if you act selflessly, your future will become increasingly beautiful. But continuing on a path of selfishness, well, that just ensures the pain will persist. So, the provocative question remains for us. Will you test the path of selflessness to eradicate your own worries? Sui Feng lays out the whole shebang. The cosmos is perfectly balanced, your pain is a product of your own self-interest, and letting go of that ego is the only true way to heaven. Whether you view this as profound spiritual truth or just a seriously radical psychological reframing, the challenge is still right there on the table. The next time you feel worry, distress, or anger creeping in, trace it back to its root. See if you can spot the selfishness hiding right there in the middle of it. And then, see what happens if you simply let it go. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope this deep dive into the teachings of Life Chanyuan has given you an entirely new perspective on the worries we carry around every single day.